and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. In this episode, I'll be discussing Disney's 2014 animated classic, Big Hero 6, as directed by Don Hall and Chris Williams, bringing us Disney's 55th such animated classic, dependent, of course, on, as always, what your take is on what constitutes such a classic. Big Hero 6 is an animated feature loosely based on a Marvel comic book of the same name, in a first for Disney. While the MCU was kind of gaining momentum every second round about this time, Disney wanted to see what else they could actually derive from the world Marvel had to offer, and indeed came up with a little-known comic by Man of Action, which was indeed Big Hero 6. Ultimately finding a way to turn the property into this amazing feature that more than stands up on its own accord. Very much so that in fact it doesn't actually carry the Marvel name and is not connected to the ever-growing universe that Disney was already developing from Marvel's work. But, to be fair, that made it even more intriguing for me when I actually found this out. I was actually thinking when I was watching this, as I was going through, just how much of a fantastic Marvel movie this would actually make. And indeed, lo and behold, it actually is. We even have an end credits sequence and a cameo from Stan Lee, nonetheless. So, set in the futuristic city of, let's say this right, San Francisco, we are introduced to Hero, as voiced by Ryan Potter, who is pretty much a robotics prodigy, but, much to his older brother's dismay, is squandering his talents hustling at and betting on bot fights, using his ingenious and serene-looking robotic creation to bring in the win. His brother, Tadishi, as voiced by Daniel Henney, hatches a plan to get Hero to see the world in a new way and subtly introduces him to his friends at the San Francisco Institute of Technology, or, as it is affectionately known, Nerd School. A school and scientific think tank, if you will, with which Hero instantly falls in love. However, on the night of the Institute showcase, an event basically where Hero unveils his latest robotic invention, the microbots, in a bid to impress Professor Robert Callahan, as voiced by James Cromwell, to gain entry onto his course at the Institute. Tragedy strikes, however, which sees Hero sadly lose his brother in an explosion which starts out in the showcase. Finding out that there might be more to the explosion as it first appears, Hero goes on a mission along with Baymax, as voiced by Scott Adsit, a personal healthcare assistant robot designed and built by his brother, in order to uncover the mystery of that heart-wrenching night. As the mystery gets deeper and more sinister, Hero then teams up further with Tadishi's friends, Gogo, as voiced by Jamie Chung, an expert in electromagnets, Wasabi, I can't say that word. Yes, Wasabi, as voiced by Damon Wayans Jr., an expert in lasers. Honey Lemon, as voiced by Génesis Rodríguez, the mad chemist of the bunch, absolutely after my own heart. And Fred, as voiced by TJ Miller, the Institute's school mascot, comic book fan, and science groupie. Indeed, it is actually quite funny when you think about it, that most of the eccentric, or the most eccentric character of the bunch has no fancy nickname, simply Fred. Together, they use their individual scientific and engineering specialities as they band together to form an energetic and very colourful group of new superheroes with some awesome gadgetry. The Big Hero 6. So, after watching this, I mean, what an absolute ride. It is simply yet another fantastic entry from Disney, who have basically taken a risk to create something different, something meaningful, and that are, even stepped outside of the boundary that they'd created for themselves with the MCU. And you know what? This succeeded, absolutely. Not only is this fantastic science fiction, an adventure movie, but also a great superhero origins film that has been crafted to rival, I think, the very best of them indeed. It has been presented very much as a comic book style of film, which is very vibrant, very fast, and indeed very well thought out. We of course have the usual tragedy which acts as the catalyst for the origin of our superheroes, but it is done in the best of tastes and with the utmost respect. The film serves to bed in the relationship between Hero and Tadashi to such an extent that you will get the motivations behind Hero's actions thereafter, and indeed his need for revenge. His brother was everything to him. It certainly has a very heart-wrenching and emotional core, and indeed a hard-hitting start. You are emotionally invested in this movie at a personal level, and there's no going back. Indeed, this movie represents a very different direction for Disney as an animation studio, and a gamble that more than paid off. The partnership of Disney, Marvel, and of course Pixar, as you know, their DNA is so evident throughout this movie. You know, as a creative team, created quite a wondrous spectacle of a new bunch of characters that we can really get behind. Of course, Baymax, you know, is the linchpin of this movie through and through. The other characters are wonderful, don't get me wrong, on their own accord. But the bond that forms between Hero and Baymax is wondrous. And although Baymax is indeed a robot, he has an emotional quality, part of his caring programming, of course, which really makes you believe in him as though he was indeed capable of such emotion. Which, of course, is actually seconded by some of the heartfelt scenes between the two as the film progresses. Baymax, quite simply, very much steals the show. The animation is absolutely out of this world and simply surpasses anything that Disney had actually done up to this point. I believe that a number of new design engines were actually created for this feature, which were designed to give the city of San Francisco a totally individualistic and unique feel. Indeed, I believe each of the characters, buildings, and I even think the trees are unique representations, making this feel like a true immersive city environment. At times, I truly forgot I was indeed watching an animation. It does have a darker tone than most Disney classics, and it isn't a musical in any sense, although it does have a superb soundtrack, with an edgy kind of yet playful score by Henry Jackman and an original track by Fall Out Boy, Immortals, which really gets that blood pumping. I would also say that along with the feeling that this film is very Marvel in nature, it does actually have, I think, quite the Scooby-Doo vibe to it. Okay, so they don't have a super crime-solving, super sleuth dog in their gang, but they do have Baymax. And the way that the protagonist is portrayed, antagonist, not protagonist, the antagonist, is portrayed with the kind of the mask and the superpowers that at first kind of seem out of this world, but later grounded in science. And then the way that he's kind of unmasked, simply excellent, and really did take me back to all of those fantastic episodes featuring that lovable canine. All they were lacking really was the mystery machine. But yes, absolutely fantastic fun all round. If I had really only one issue with the movie, to be fair, was that we didn't actually get to see enough of Hero's own creations being used for good, that is. You know, we see enough of them being used for evil, but his bot at the start of the film was absolutely spot on and would have been an absolutely perfect addition to the weapon fighting and the tactics of the team, as it looked really so inconspicuous, you know, and indeed was Hero's very own creation from scratch. It would have been a little bit more poignant, I think, perhaps if the film had kind of brought this part of the story full circle. But you know, I do suppose Baymax was bot enough, you know. So overall, an absolutely outstanding superhero origins movie from Disney. It really is. Who dared to take a risk with a very different direction for the studio, which more than paid off. It is a fantastic superhero origin story that has been exquisitely crafted with absolutely wondrous and immersive animation that brings us a totally heartfelt story with some simply excellent sci-fi built around one robot's desire to provide the best care possible. It's absolutely hilarious at times, totally moving at others, totally touching all round. I would easily place this amongst one of the best Marvel-derived movies around, absolutely for sure. It takes a few chances, you know, that more than pay off with an absolutely mesmerising entry into the Disney Classics range that easily stands out and stands its ground, given how unique it actually is. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and we would definitely love to have you back. But most of all, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.